Imagine this scenario. You receive a voicemail. It is your CEO's voice, clear as day. He's asking you to urgently wire $50,000 to a vendor to secure a contract before the end of the quarter. The cadence is perfect. The tone is stressed but professional. You process the wire. 2 hours later, you walk past the CEO's office and see him eating a sandwich, completely relaxed. You didn't just lose money, you lost it to a ghost. This isn't science fiction. This is the new reality of AI-driven cybercrime.
What's up, everyone? A huge welcome to all our listeners. You have entered the Fluency Lab, where we dissect the complex systems running our modern world. I am Leo, and after reading the research for today's episode, I am currently debating whether to throw my smartphone into the ocean.
Please don't do that, Leo. We need you for the second half of the show. Hi, everyone. I'm Emma. It is a pleasure to be back in the lab. Today, we are stepping away from the abstract and into the immediate. We are discussing the invisible war taking place on your screens, cybersecurity. We are going to move past the basic advice of don't click suspicious links and explore the history, the psychology, and the massive industrial complex behind digital crime.
It really is an industrial complex. I think most people still picture a lone hacker in a dark hoodie drinking energy drinks in a basement, but the data suggests something far more corporate.
It is entirely corporate. Cybercrime is now a service economy. We estimate that by 2025, cybercrime costs will reach $10.5 trillion annually globally. To put that in perspective, if cybercrime were a country, it would have the third largest economy in the world, trailing only the United States and China. This isn't mischief. It is a high-stakes global business.
That number is staggering. It fundamentally shifts how we have to look at terms like phishing. We treat it like a nuisance, but you were saying it is the entry point for a multi-trillion-dollar extraction industry.
Precisely. Let's dissect phishing. Most people know it as a fake email, but the etymology is fascinating. The term was coined around 1996 by hackers targeting America Online, or AOL. They used the PH spelling as a nod to phone phreaking, which was an earlier hacker culture involving the manipulation of telephone systems in the 70s and 80s. The concept was simple. They were phishing for passwords and credit card details in the AOLC.
I remember AOL, the You've Got Mail era. It seems innocent now, but that was the testing ground. What makes phishing so effective nearly 30 years later? We all know Nigerian princes aren't real, yet the success rates for these attacks remain high.
That is the critical question. It is not about technological sophistication, it is about biological manipulation. Phishing exploits a mechanism in our brain called the amygdala hijack. When you receive an email that says your bank account is suspended or overdue payment notice, your brain perceives a threat. The amygdala, the fear center, takes over, effectively bypassing the prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for critical thinking. The attackers are not hacking your computer, they're hacking your biology.
So when I see that red urgent banner, my brain is chemically discouraged from pausing to check the sender's email address. It explains why smart people fall for dumb scams.
Exactly. Intelligence is not a defense against biological reflex. And speaking of the Nigerian prince, we should correct the record on that. While we associate it with 1990s email chains, the structure of that scam is centuries old. It is a direct descendant of the Spanish prisoner confidence trick from the late 18th century.
Wait, the 1790s? How did that work without the internet?
It was done via letters. A con artist would write to a wealthy merchant claiming to be a disgraced aristocrat imprisoned in Spain. He would claim to know the location of a buried treasure or a hidden fortune, but needed a small sum of money to bribe the guards and escape. If the merchant sent the money, the prisoner would promise to share the fortune. It is the exact same psychological hook as the Nigerian prince scam, also known as the 419 scam, named after the section of the Nigerian Criminal Code dealing with fraud.
That is incredible. The medium changes from parchment to email to WhatsApp, but the narrative, I have a fortune, I just need a small advance fee to unlock it, remains identical. It proves that human greed and empathy are consistent vulnerabilities.
And the terminology has evolved to match our new devices. We mentioned phishing for email. We now see smishing, which is SMS phishing. This is often more dangerous because we trust our phones more than our computers. There's also vishing, or voice phishing, which brings us back to your cold open about the CEO's voice.
That brings up the technical escalation. In the past, vishing was just a guy in a call center pretending to be the IRS. Now, with generative AI, they can clone a voice from a 3-second clip on Instagram. How does an average person defend against a machine that sounds exactly like their boss or their spouse?
It requires a shift in social protocol. We need to normalize out-of-band verification. If your CEO calls with an urgent financial request, you hang up and call them back on a known internal line. If your spouse calls in a panic asking for a password, you text them a pre-agreed code word. It feels rude, but in a world of deepfakes, verification is not an insult. It is a necessity.
We are talking about individual defense, but let's zoom out to the corporate level. We hear about data breaches constantly. I feel like I get a letter every 6 months saying my data was exposed. At a certain point, it feels inevitable. What actually happens during a breach like the infamous Yahoo incident?
The Yahoo breach remains the gold standard for scale. Roughly 3 billion accounts were compromised between 2013 and 2014. In a breach, hackers penetrate a company's database and exfiltrate records. This isn't just stealing money. They steal the raw materials of identity: names, birth dates, hashed passwords, and security questions. This data is then aggregated and sold on dark web marketplaces.
So my data isn't just stolen once, it is sold as a product. It enters a supply chain.
Correct. This leads to credential stuffing. Because people naturally reuse passwords, using password 123 for their both Netflix and their bank account, hackers take the millions of passwords stolen from a low-security site like a fitness forum and use automated bots to test them against high-security banking sites. One breach feeds the next attack.
This touches on a nuanced debate in the industry, the concept of the human firewall. Companies spend millions training employees to spot phishing, essentially blaming the user if they click a link. But if the attacks are sophisticated, AI-driven, and psychologically targeted, is it fair to place the burden of security on the individual employee?
That is a controversial point. There was a growing school of thought that user awareness is a failed strategy. If a system allows a single click to destroy a network, the system is flawed, not the user. We don't blame a driver for an accident if the brakes fail. Yet we blame an accountant for clicking an invoice that installs ransomware. The future of security must be secure by design, systems that assume humans will make mistakes and contain the damage automatically.
Speaking of ransomware, we should define that. It sounds like something from a kidnapping movie.
It is digital kidnapping. Malware is the broad term for malicious software, but ransomware is a specific type that encrypts your files, it locks your digital life behind a mathematical wall, and demands payment, usually in cryptocurrency, to unlock it. It has shut down hospitals, oil pipelines, and city governments. It forces a moral dilemma. Do you pay the criminal to save lives or restore power, knowing that payment funds the next attack?
Most government advice is never pay, but when a hospital cannot access patient records, the abstract morality fades pretty quickly. It is a brutal business model.
It is effectively extortion at an industrial scale. And this brings us to the tools of survival. We mentioned verification, but we must talk about 2FA, two-factor authentication.
I know this one. It's the annoying code I have to type in after my password. Is it actually effective, or is it just security theater?
It is arguably the single most effective measure you can take. Microsoft's data suggests that multi-factor authentication can block 99.9% of automated account compromise attacks. Even if a hacker buys your password from a Yahoo breach on the dark web, they cannot replicate the code generated on your physical phone in that specific second. It turns a static key into a dynamic one.
So the inconvenience is the price of admission for safety. I'll stop complaining about the extra 5 seconds it takes to log in.
Please do. And looking forward, we need to understand that the landscape is shifting from hacking code to hacking people. The technical barriers are getting higher, encryption is standard, firewalls are stronger, so criminals will focus entirely on the weakest link, the human operator. Your skepticism is your best antivirus.
That's a powerful takeaway. We often think of cybersecurity as a tech problem, but you framed it as a psychological and historical one. From the Spanish prisoner letters of 1790 to the AI voice clones of 2024, the exploit is always trust.
Trust, urgency, and fear. If you can control those emotions, you can bypass any firewall. My challenge to our listeners this week is practical. Auditing your digital life. Check if you have been part of a breach using a service like Have I Been Pwned, and enable 2FA on every account that supports it. Do not wait for the red urgent banner to appear.
I'm going to change my 123456 password immediately after we finish recording. Emma, this has been an eye-opening tour of the digital dark alleys.
It was a pleasure, Leo. Just remember, if I email you asking for a loan to escape a Spanish prison, call me first.
I'll text you the code word. Thanks for tuning in to the Fluency Lab, everyone. Stay safe, stay skeptical, and keep your digital doors locked.
Until next time, stay secure.